Welcome to the NABS podcast. NABS is the support organisation for those working in advertising, marketing and media. I'm your host, Louise Scody. Each week I'll be chatting with someone from our industry to find out how they support themselves and those around them through challenging times as well as the day-to-day. And it's all to help you support your own mental wellness. I can't wait to start chatting. This week our guest is Trevor Robinson OBE. Trevor is CEO and partner at Quiet Storm Advertising. He's one of the most high-profile and highly regarded people in the industry, despite being told by his school careers advisor that he'd have more chance of being a bus driver. Trevor is responsible for some of the UK's most famous ad campaigns, including the 90s You've Been Tangoed. In 1995, Trevor set up Quiet Storm, the first agency to write, direct, and produce its own work. Trevor runs Quiet Storm together with his wife Rania, who has also been a guest on the NABS podcast. Together with Rania, Trevor also runs Create Not Hate, an initiative that helps underrepresented young people into creative careers. Trevor is recognised in many influencer lists, and in 2009 he was awarded an OBE for his services to charity and advertising. Welcome, Trevor. It's really good to have you on the NABS podcast. How are you doing?
I'm very well, actually. I'm just pleased that there's still sunshine at this late August period. In terms of, I'm not looking forward to the winter. So as long as the sun's shining through the window, I'm happy.
Well, I'm going to ask you what mental wellness looks like to you. And does it look like having sunny weather to help you along? Or have you got other resources you can draw when it does get gloomy and wintry?
I think, especially in our business, it can be quite stressful because it's like if you're in a small business, you're forever pleasing the clients that are on the table, but also trying to bring new clients in and trying to keep the old ones. So it's a never-ending sort of like merry-go-round of stress at times. But the thing that makes me, and which I've always been fortunate as an occupation, is I love being involved with the creative process, whether it's coming up with ideas or nurturing ideas or instilling, seeing people who don't think they're creative become creative and see the rewards that comes with that take fruition. So that's really, one of the things that keeps me buzzing. And the other thing is just, being around youngsters, from my own kids to the people that I work with, feeling their ideas and feeling their kind of joys and excitement about the future, which is always, you can easily get kind of pessimistic and wallow in the past, and even in the good past, and in terms of how you view in the future.
So if you were having an off day where you felt like your mental wellness wasn't tip top, what would you do? Would you reach out to someone younger in your team or one of your kids maybe for a chat to uplift you?
Not really. I'd probably the key things for me is to go for a walk, jump on my bike, go down the gym, or watch an old movie or a movie that interests me, or things. I'm a great one for being inspired by stuff that I see. So going to an exhibition or anything creative that I find really helps me. I'm not terribly good at chats and stuff unless it's with my family or my friends. That I feel like I'm able to get some reward from that. I'm not very good at finding it elsewhere.
You're responsible for one of the most memorable ads of all time. You know You've Been Tangoed, which people still say that catchphrase, and that was back in '92 when it was on TV. It's been named in a Channel 4 and Sunday Times poll as the third best ad ever. What I'm interested is the link here between mental wellness and values, because your work is famously values led. And where mental wellness and values enable you to produce really fresh work like that, the sense of originality. So, do you remember where you were with your mental wellness when you made that ad and where
Yeah,
you were values wise as well?
it's quite interesting because, well, maybe may or may not be interesting, but me and Al, my creative partner, Al Young, we were on dole for quite a few years trying to get into advertising, feeling that this is an uphill struggle and we'll never break in. And when we did break in, we got fired again after a year, let go, as they say. And it was quite desperate. So when we got a job at Hal Henry Childcott Lurie, we still felt that the door was going to come off the hinges and people just like, right, you're on your bike, um, you're not wanted here. So we knew we had to do something that the outside world would recognize and like and see and talk about. And because we knew it wasn't enough for just the industry to know us, we wanted to try and create talkability out there. So when we got the client, when we had the opportunity to work on BrickVit, and the client walked in the door and said to not just me and Al, but to the creative department, I want to be famous. I want to do famous work. I want Coca-Cola to be scared of us and notice this little British company is doing something new. And and that was music to our ears, because that meant that me and Al could just say, right, gloves are off. Let's do something that's going to get talked about. And it was a reactionary idea as well. It was kind of, really, you don't notice it, but it's taken the mickey out of cause and effects advertising, where you have a pleasant drink or eat a product or something, and lovely things happen to you. And we laughed about what have horrible things happen to you when you have this drink, so, but shrouded with a comedic, funny characters.
How did you feel about the reaction to the ad?
The reaction to the ad was exactly what we wanted, in terms of people was talking about it, and like you say, people still remember it now. It was a bit disturbing that people were running up and down, smacking people, smacking each other, and stuff like that. That was not the intention at all. It didn't even cross my mind that people would do that, because it was just one of the executions we did with the Orange Man slap, and it was also meant to be in this little mystical, odd world. So it did. I didn't see how that was going to affect people talking, people physically doing it. And it was actually a couple of doctors who got perforated eardrums by smacking other student doctors in the ear. That was the ones that got it banned. So I thought it was quite ironic. It was these young doctors causing it to be banned in the first place.
Yes, they're sometimes the most experimental people, aren't they, when it comes to testing the limits of the human body?
Yes, I know a few doctors and stuff. I can definitely agree with that.
Possibly not congruent with mental wellness, so we wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
Um, Now, you run Quiet Storm together with your wife, Rania. She's also been on the podcast. So, this makes you a well known Adland power couple. Now, I asked her the same questions that I'm going to ask you now. So, this is like playing Mr. and Mrs. basically. What's it like? No pressure. What's it like for you working and living together? How do you support your mental wellness and hers so that you can protect any boundaries you want in place, as well as your relationship?
I think we're lucky, because I really do need somebody that gets what I do, and I can trust that I work with. They've got my back, as it were, and but what comes with it is obviously a lot of pressure, because when you win something, it's great. When you're doing good work and people are patting you on the back, it's great, because you're sharing it together. But when things are going bad, it's like you look at each other for the problems, and you look at yourself, and there's no escaping it. If you work with someone, you go home, that person's there, and that person, even when they're not doing anything, is a reminder of what failure is, and what hardship is when you go through recessions and lockdowns. And I found, especially because of COVID, it really allowed me to kind of really gauge how we work together, because we were definitely locked in. And at one stage, we was using the same computer, which was madness. And before, I used to sort of like say, right, as soon as we get past our garden fence door, we don't talk about work. And Rania will passionately talk about work and follow me around the house from the bathroom to the kitchen. And I'm like, and I need to escape. That's hence I go for walks, and I do like to go out at night with my mates, just to get about what we do for a living at times. But I think we've got it really locked down, that we kind of know when we're both needing a bit of space, when we both need a bit of a shoulder to lean on. So I think we've been working together for almost 16 years. So it's something that we kind of learn how to really coexist and help each other.
Do you have a rule when you go out? Let's not talk about work.
Yeah, I definitely have a role. I think we automatically do it a bit more, but sometimes Rani would say, or I say, right, tonight I want us to discuss this before we meet up with everybody else. And that really clears the air, especially when there's things that I can feel some tension, but I don't know what it is. And then as soon as you can get these things out in the open, you just have to be, I think, just wary and clever of each other in terms of what's worrying you, and hearing things out. And sometimes I have to have input on those things in a working sense, and you're trying to divide away from personal and from actually, you know, the strengths and weaknesses of people that you're working around. And sometimes it can get blurred, because if you don't like a person, it does not necessarily mean they're not great at their job.
It's a double whammy of communication needs, isn't it? Because you've got to
Mm.
communicate clearly with the work relationship, and you have to communicate clearly within your personal relationship for both of those to function.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's sometimes because it can seep into that. You just kind of, sometimes I find myself like, whoa, we're getting heated, like it's a argument about home life or financials or something. All of those things I dislike arguing about anyway. I'd rather have a discussion, but obviously sometimes it becomes a heated discussion, and sometimes it gets personal, and you kind of think, especially when it's work, I really
Mm.
don't think there's any room for it to get personal.
What you and Ronja also have in common is that you're both known for driving forward diversity in our industry, especially with Create Not Hate, which you co founded. And that aims to bring young, underrepresented people into Adland. Now, from your own experience as a young black man trying to make it in the industry, what were the challenges that you faced? Do you think those challenges are still around today, or can you see anything else facing rising black talent?
I do see a big difference, a marked difference. Like everybody from Jeremy Green, who runs Creative Circle, and him, a real campaigner to get diversity into the industry and fueled into the industry. I see a lot more female and black in the industry, which is, I think, is a big change from which I didn't realize it was so toxic at the time, of lots of men around being all geezerish and wrestling in reception areas of the creative department. Um, I used to find that, okay, you just thought, well, this is what it is, but now I can feel the difference, and it just feels a lot less crazy and a lot more a natural order of the things. It always seems a bit weird when it was just like all white, all middle class, or some working class, but they definitely weren't like the working class that I'd met. It felt a lot more privileged and a lot less like the outside world who who we was meant to be trying to communicate to. Which I must admit, I always thought I had an ace card up my sleeve, because I was thinking I'm selling to the people that I grew up with, and I kind of feel I'm closer to knowing how to communicate, how to entertain, and how to let these people buy into the personality of these brands. And I do think that line has definitely started to diminish a bit, but it's still there, and I'm still really aware through Create Not Hate. There's a lot of people out there, talented people out there, that won't even think about getting into the advertising industry. It's just not, definitely not as glamorous as it used to be when I was growing up. I used to always feel that, I used to see ads when I was a kid and go, "Oh, I wish I could do something like that." That people at my school was excitedly talked about. Sometimes the ideas were stronger than the TV programs you were watching, and I just want to plant that seed into those guys out there, and also love the industry, not just for lip service, but for them to really understand there's a lot of talent out there that can help your business and help your clients do more extraordinary and and breathtaking work that will get people talking about your brand. So I I feel as that's the dual coin of what I'd like to be involved with.
What do you think is the major challenge here? There's one thing that we identified in our research, diversity and focus, which we did a few years ago, and the lack of role models within the industry was highlighted as something that people find really difficult. So they may be from a black or an Asian background, for example, they'll be the only person in an all white company. And because they can't see someone like themselves who's progressed up the ladder, they don't feel welcome necessarily, or they don't feel like it's a place they can progress and really grow their career?
It's interesting because obviously I come from years ago before most people listening to this. It's like I come from an area where you just happy to go in and do a job, and you're happy to get a job that that you could have a certain lifestyle, and your work can be seen on a poster or in on TV. So for me, it was just like I was just happy to be sat at the table. I think now there's a lot more. You know, I'm a lot more aware that people want to feel that this is a lovely place to work at, and this is as well as it being a great opportunity. Do you know what I mean? So
Mm.
I can see the younger generation like going, I don't like these guys. Don't seem to like me, and I don't like them, and I'm not going to go to their office parties or hang out for a beer. And I kind of I've always been of a mind, as long as I can do a job that makes me happy, and I get some kind of financial and mental reward from it. That's really it for me. But I can see, as in, even with my company, I could see like we deliberately have once a week we have an opportunity to have a little drink with each other in the office before everybody goes home, so people can just become a little bit more human. And because I can see the necessity in that, but I never, I can't pretend I know how to cope with a company if they don't have as many people like-minded, for many people that of color in the company, so that they can look for a role model in that. I don't know how to deal with that, because I've not worked for anybody else for over 30 years, so I can only see, I'm in a bit of a bubble when it comes to what's it like for people in other agencies.
What do you think would be one piece of advice you'd give to other agencies, maybe, who are having a problem attracting talent from diverse backgrounds?
Well, I would say get some people at a higher level working within your company that aren't from Oxford and Cambridge, and are, go out your way, get out your comfort zone, go out and go to those schools and colleges and universities and seek them out, because it's important. If you're gonna change it, you've got to change it at the top. You can't expect young people to just come in, like, because you could see people are intimidated by the young, and are intimidated by, I was thinking that when I was doing Create Not Hate, and I got some really lovely, talented creative directors in from the industry. Vicky Maguire, Dave Dyer, they all came in, and quite a few old mates came in. But I could physically see them, not those two particularly, but I could see, I know, because one of them actually told me he was quite intimidated to be in a room full of young black kids, and just didn't feel at first he had the equipment to be able to communicate to them. So his response, or most of the response, was like, "God, I can't wait till this is over." But by the end of the day, I think it was on both sides. The kids were like able to go, hang on, this guy is actually quite nice, and he's quite intelligent, or she's got so and she cares, and vice versa. The guys were like looking at these kids and going, wow, that was some really great ideas in just one day, or even half of a day after we ended rambling at them. So it was kind of like, I yeah, I can only say people need to hire and get and see the importance of getting people of color at senior level, but also everybody within the company needs to take a front foot in getting outside their comfort zone and talking to people, talking and wanting to communicate with people and sit down with them, and kind of gauge who they are, because that makes a stronger team all around. But people don't feel it's a part of their remit, about their job remit. I just do my bit and I'll go home. And so it's kind of like, it's important, if you want to get the best out of people, you've got to make them feel comfortable. You got to try your best to make them feel like wanted. And I'm just not sure. Again, I have to put a big sort of like line and sort of like say I don't know what it's like to work for somebody else, because I haven't done it for a long time. So, but that would be my advice to answer to your question.
How does the Adland community lift you up?
Um, the Adline community. I think, I'm not a massive one for. hanging out with ad people. Do you know what I mean? I see them at award dues, and we're lucky enough to go to Cannes once a year. And when I'm not working, it's lovely to just catch up with people. And you do, I think that's really nice when you can just genuinely just ask people if they're honest. It's actually quite refreshing, other than people coming to you, oh, we're doing really well in life. If you can get past that Adlan crapology, there's a lot you can get from each other. You get other war stories, you get even ideas of how to deal with clients, how to deal with getting more business. So that is really good. But in terms of lifting up, I would go back to people like Jeremy Green, where they just seem so genuinely just trying to help and just trying to do good stuff and see the merit and they have a genuine visual excitement when they're with these youngsters, and so I guess that is really that is quite rewarding and uplifting.
Loving the idea of Adland crapology. Now trying to
I
get that
bet
phrase
that's
around my head.
my usual making up of words, because I don't know, I can't think of the words at the right time, so I end up it sounds interesting.
Listen, it painted a picture of what it is. So
Yeah,
I think we can all adopt that phrase.
very
Um,
cool.
Amazingly, we've got to the end of the chat. It's just one more question, which is, what's a lesson you've learned about how to support yourself?
I think the lesson to learn, it really again goes back to me and Al on the dole, and doors being slammed in the face, and and feeling like you just getting nowhere. And I remember we were really down, both me and Al, at times, and you get your dough check and it'd be gone in like 2 minutes, and then you're scrabbling. And it sounds weird, but actually, it was some of the best times of my life when it was me and Al, and we had some of the most can't stop laughing kind of, and it bonded us. And I realized when I got a job in advertising that one of the best times I ever had was out of advertising trying to get in, and it was because it was quite uniform. It was it was odd, but it was like every victory it was for both of us. And I think probably why I enjoy working with my wife is because when things are going right and you're both going through things, it's incredibly empowering and uplifting and rewarding. And you both can beam at each other, and you both know what each other is happy about, and you grow and you fail together. But yeah, I'd just say kind of don't be afraid of things going wrong.
That is a very pragmatic yet positive note on which to end. Trevor Robinson, you've been an absolute delight.
All right.
Thanks so much, Trevor. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.